researchers here in the UK say they have found the strongest sign yet of possible life beyond our solar system.
It started like a whisper from the stars, quiet at first, almost imperceptible. Then came the blinding flash. In the early hours of a cold, quiet morning, something extraordinary happened in the distant dark. A surge of light, so intense it burned its way across time and space, erupted from the sky. Not from some random, unreachable corner of the universe, but from Proxima Centauri, our nearest stellar neighbor. Just 4.2 light-years away, it's close enough to feel familiar. And now it's closer than ever to becoming a riddle we may never solve. Astronomers didn't see it coming. No one did. One moment, the James Webb Space Telescope was scanning the familiar silhouette of Proxima Centauri, continuing its patient watch over stars and planets that might, just might, harbor life. And the next, everything changed. A colossal burst of energy exploded into Webb's sensors. So strong, it nearly overwhelmed them. It was the kind of flare that shouldn't have happened. Not here. Not like this. Not now. The silence that followed wasn't comforting. It was haunting. Scientists scrambled to their consoles. Instruments blinked red. Alarms were triggered. And as the first fragments of data began to download, the mood in the room shifted from confusion to awe to a kind of quiet dread. Because this wasn't just light, it was power. Raw, untamed, and beautiful. It surged across multiple wavelengths, tearing through the boundaries of what we thought a star like Proxima Centauri could do. It carried with it radiation that danced across infrared and ultraviolet realms. It whispered of something deeper, something more violent and primal, churning at the heart of that small red star. And that whisper, it pointed straight towards something else, a planet, a place that has always lingered on the edge of our imaginations. Proxima b. For years we've wondered, could it be like Earth? Could there be oceans, clouds, winds? Could something or someone be living there? But if Proxima b was caught in the crosshairs of that flare, the questions become more urgent and more terrifying. Because this wasn't just a flare. It was a celestial warning shot, a reminder that the universe, for all its beauty, is still wild and unforgiving. If there is life on Proxima b, tiny, clinging, fragile, it may have just endured an assault of cosmic proportions. It may have survived, or it may have been silenced forever. We'll never see the flash with our own eyes. It happened years ago. The light only just reached us, but its echoes are with us now, reshaping what we believe, what we fear, what we hope for. And that hope, it lingers, doesn't it? Because Proxima Centauri is not just a distant star. It's the star, the one that always felt within reach. And now it's lit up the sky with a flare that doesn't fit the rules. It defies patterns. It breaks expectations. And somewhere in that chaos might be a message. Not in language, not in code, but in the very physics of the event itself. Could this be the natural fury of a star simply doing what stars do? Or is there something more? No one knows yet. But for the first time in years, astronomers, dreamers, and believers around the world are all looking in the same direction, toward Proxima Centauri, toward that sudden, impossible flash, toward the place where mystery has just been born. And we're left with a feeling that's hard to shake, that something is coming. In the aftermath of the flash, time seemed to stretch, not in the way clocks move, but in the way silence settles after something sacred has been disturbed. Data poured in. Lines of light turned into numbers turned into patterns. And as scientists sifted through it, piece by piece, a chilling realization took hold. This wasn't just an ordinary stellar tantrum. This was different, bigger, stranger, and in ways no one could fully explain, more deliberate. The flare had structure, it had rhythm, it had direction. It wasn't scattered like a burst of fire. It was aimed, fired like a cosmic arrow straight into the heart of its own planetary system. The energy burst lined up almost perfectly with the orbital plane of Proxima b, almost as if, by design or accident, it was meant to be seen, or felt. And if Proxima b was in the wrong place at the wrong time, Directly in the line of fire, it might have received the full, brutal force of the blast. For Earth, flares like this are rare but survivable. Our magnetic field wraps us in a quiet, invisible shield. It protects us like a parent's arms in a storm. But Proxima b, we don't know. That's the terrifying truth. If it has no magnetic field, no protective atmosphere, then this single event could have been catastrophic. The skies might have been set ablaze. Radiation might have scorched the surface. If life was there, it would have needed to be underground, hidden, buried in silence just to survive. But here's where the story gets stranger. In the days before the flare, subtle shifts began appearing in Proxima Centauri's light. Webb caught them. Tiny flickers, changes in color, a slight dimming, so small, so soft, they were nearly dismissed. But they weren't random. They were like tremors before an earthquake, like the first deep breath before a scream. Almost like the star knew something was coming. Could stars build tension? Could they store up power, waiting for just the right moment to release it? It's a question that cuts deeper than science. It touches something primal. Because if stars can whisper warnings before they erupt, what else might they be saying? And then there's the matter of the surrounding space. The dust, the gas, the fragments of ice and rock that drift silently around Proxima Centauri. Webb's instruments detected shock waves moving through that debris, a faint ripple, a cosmic aftershock that spread out like a haunting song. A light so intense it didn't just shine, it shook the darkness. What happens when that light crashes into dust grains floating through the void? What happens when ancient ice meets radiation born in fire? It changes things. Maybe it vaporizes them. Maybe it transforms them. Maybe it sends a signal, not a message written in words or technology, but in the language of nature itself. Light, heat, force, like knocking on the door of the universe to say, we're still here. And yet, as powerful as the flare was, as dramatic and violent and raw as it appeared, something else lingers in the minds of those who witnessed the data for the first time. A quiet question, one that refuses to fade. What if this wasn't the peak? What if this was only the beginning? A single flare doesn't make a pattern, but patterns begin somewhere, and Proxima Centauri just gave us the loudest whisper in the galaxy. We're watching now, we're listening, because something about this flash felt intentional. And no one, not the scientists, not the dreamers, not the skeptics, can walk away from that idea unchanged. Somewhere out there, beyond the blur of our skies, beyond the reach of our rockets and the limits of our language, a red star pulses in silence. It's easy to forget that Proxima Centauri isn't just a scientific curiosity. It's real. It's alive in its own way, churning with fire and fury, burning silently through the cold. And now we know it has something else, a temper, a presence, a voice that roared across the void and found its way to us. But perhaps the most unsettling thing is that it didn't go unnoticed. Because as the James Webb Space Telescope recorded the afterglow of that monstrous flash, something unexpected began to emerge from the data. A hint, subtle and fleeting, but impossible to ignore. There were echoes, not just in the star's light, but in its surroundings. The dust and gas near Proxima Centauri shimmered with strange fluctuations, like an invisible hand had passed through, stirring the very fabric of its small solar system. And some scientists, quietly, carefully, have begun to ask questions no one dares to ask aloud. Could it be a signal? Not a greeting, not an answer. Just a moment, a flare so intense, so precise, that it felt less like an accident and more like an act of nature, of intelligence, of something in between. No one knows. That's the part that haunts us. Because if it was just nature, then we've learned something profound about how stars live, how they die, how they bleed light across time. And if Proxima Centauri is capable of eruptions this violent, this calculated, then we may have to rethink everything we believed about red dwarfs and the fragile worlds that orbit them. But if it wasn't just nature, if there was something else behind it, then this moment will go down as the day the universe spoke back. And what's more, it might be watching us now. Think about it. If life exists on Proxima b, and if that life is intelligent, truly capable of observation, then they saw this flare too. Not from across light years, but from their own sky. It would have lit up their world in an instant, flooding their atmosphere with energy, shaking their orbit, scorching their soil. They would have felt it, like a sunquake, a reckoning. And if they survived it, if anything did, then they know the universe is a dangerous place. They know the stars that give life can just as easily take it. And maybe, just maybe, they're wondering about us too. We sit here on our pale blue dot, staring into the past through a telescope that sees farther than anything we've ever built. And what we saw was a warning, or a revelation, or a mystery waiting to unfold. The truth is, we don't know what this flare means. We only know how it makes us feel. Small, hopeful, afraid, alive. This isn't just about Proxima Centauri anymore. It's about every star we've ever looked at with longing. It's about every planet we've dreamed of, every signal we've waited for, every question we've whispered into the dark. Because if a simple red star, barely visible to the naked eye, can suddenly explode with such raw, unimaginable power, then what else is out there? What else is waiting to be seen? The sky didn't answer us this time, not with words, but with light. And sometimes light is enough. Enough to change the way we see the universe. Enough to remind us we're not in control. Enough to make us wonder, maybe for the first time in a long time, whether the universe is more alive than we ever dared to believe. So we look back to Proxima Centauri now, not with fear, not with certainty, but with awe, because something flashed in the dark, and the dark flashed back.